An 8-year-old girl with a heart full of courage saves Daisy, a pregnant Labrador trapped in barbed wire. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe our channel, Pause Verve. If this story touches your heart, please like the video and share it with others. The summer sun spilled golden light through the lace curtains of Grandma Clara's farmhouse, casting dappled patterns on the worn wooden floor. The air was thick with the scent of blooming honeysuckle and freshly mown grass, drifting in through the open windows. Outside, the rolling fields of the countryside stretched toward the horizon, dotted with wildflowers and framed by a distant line of ancient oak trees. The farmhouse itself, with its peeling white paint and creaky porch swing, stood as a testament to years of love and hard work, a place where time seemed to move a little slower. 8-year-old Lily Harper sat at the kitchen table, her sneakers swinging restlessly beneath her chair. Her chestnut curls bounced as she fidgeted, her hazel eyes darting toward the window where a butterfly flitted past. The ancient clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second stretching into eternity for a girl bursting with energy. A plate of Grandma Clara's oatmeal cookies sat untouched in front of her, a rare sign of her impatience. Lily had arrived at the farm just yesterday for her annual summer visit, and already the familiar routines, helping with chores, listening to Grandma's stories, felt too tame for her adventurous spirit. "Grandma, can I go play outside now?" Lily asked, her voice carrying a hopeful lilt. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hands, her elbows smudging the flour-dusted table. Grandma Clara, a wiry woman with silver hair pulled into a neat bun, looked up from the peaches she was slicing for a batch of preserves. Her hands, weathered from years of tending the farm, moved with practiced precision. She wore a faded apron over her denim dress, and her eyes, sharp but kind, studied Lily with a mix of amusement and caution. "You can play in the yard, Lily, but don't go wandering off," she said firmly, setting down her knife. "Stay where I can see you from this window." Lily nodded eagerly, already sliding off her chair. "I promise, Grandma." Her words tumbled out fast, as if saying them quickly would make them more convincing. "I mean it, young lady," Grandma Clara added, her tone growing serious. She wiped her hands on her apron and pointed toward the window. "This farm's full of surprises. Deep ditches, old fences, even the occasional fox. Your mama would have my hide if you got into trouble." I know," Lily said, bouncing on her toes. "I'll be super careful." She flashed a grin, her dimples deepening, and darted toward the back door before Grandma could say more. "Now, that's exactly what your mama used to say," Grandma Clara muttered, a fond smile tugging at her lips. She shook her head, remembering her daughter Sarah, who was now a nurse in the nearby town of Willow Creek. Sarah had spent her childhood exploring this very farm, coming home with scraped knees and pockets full of treasures, smooth stones, bird feathers, once even a bewildered toad. Lily, it seemed, had inherited her mother's knack for adventure. The screen door slammed behind Lily with a satisfying thwack, and she burst into the yard, the warm summer air wrapping around her like a hug. The grass tickled her bare legs below, her denim shorts, and she spun in a circle, arms outstretched, soaking in the freedom. The farmyard was a familiar playground from her visits, with its old tire swing hanging from a gnarled apple tree and the weathered barn where Grandma's chickens clucked softly. But today the boundaries of the yard felt like a cage to Lily's restless heart. Beyond the apple tree, a dirt path wound toward a wooded hill, whispering promises of secrets waiting to be uncovered. For nearly an hour, Lily contented herself with small adventures. She chased a grasshopper through the clover, collected a handful of shiny pebbles, and tried to coax a barn cat out from under the porch with a piece of string. But her eyes kept drifting to that path, barely visible through the tall grass. It curved out of sight, leading to places she'd never explored alone. She glanced back at the farmhouse. Through the kitchen window, she could see Grandma Clara's silhouette bent over the counter, humming as she worked. Surely, Lily thought, a quick peek wouldn't hurt. She'd be back before Grandma even noticed. Lily's heart gave a little leap at the thought, a mix of excitement and the thrill of doing something just a tiny bit forbidden. She clutched her pebbles tighter, as if they could anchor her to her promise, and took a step toward the path. The farm, with its endless possibilities, seemed to call her name, and Lily was ready to answer. Lily stood at the edge of Grandma Clara's yard, her sneakers scuffing the dirt where the manicured grass gave way to wilder terrain. The dirt path stretched before her, winding past the apple tree and disappearing into a cluster of tall grasses that swayed in the summer breeze. Overhead, the sky was a brilliant blue, dotted with fluffy clouds that seemed to urge her forward, whispering of adventures just out of sight. In her pocket, the pebbles she'd collected clicked softly, a reminder of the promise she'd made, to stay within the yard. But the pull of the unknown was stronger, tugging at her like a magnet. She glanced back at the farmhouse, its white walls glowing in the sunlight. Through the kitchen window, Grandma Clara was still a faint shape, her head bowed over the counter, likely scooping peach slices into jars. The rhythmic clink of glass and the faint hum of an old hymn carried on the breeze, proof that Grandma was absorbed in her work. Lily bit her lip, her heart thumping with a mix of guilt and excitement. "Just a little look," she whispered, to herself, as if saying it aloud would make it less disobedient. "I'll be back before she even knows I'm gone." With a final peek to ensure Grandma wasn't watching, Lily darted past the apple tree, her sneakers crunching on the gravelly path. The moment she crossed the invisible boundary of the yard, a thrill raced through her like the first swoop of a swing. The world seemed to open up, the farm's familiar edges giving way to new possibilities. The path sloped gently upward, flanked by wildflowers, purple clover and yellow buttercups that brushed against her legs. A dragonfly buzzed past, its wings glinting in the sun, and Lily laughed, chasing it for a few steps before it vanished into the grass. The hill wasn't far, but to Lily it felt like a grand expedition. She imagined herself as an explorer in one of the adventure books her mom read to her at bedtime, braving uncharted lands to discover hidden treasures. Maybe she'd find an old barn no one knew about, or a secret pond teeming with frogs. Her imagination painted vivid pictures as she climbed, her breath quickening with effort and excitement. At the top of the hill, Lily paused, turning to look back at the farmhouse. It was smaller now, nestled in the valley like a toy house in a model village. The sight made her stomach twist, just a little. It was farther than she'd meant to go, and the path had curved so that the kitchen window was no longer in view. She clutched her pebbles tighter, their smooth surfaces grounding her. "I'll just see what's on the other side," she promised herself, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then I'll run straight back." The far side of the hill revealed a new landscape, one Lily had never seen on her visits to the farm. A meadow stretched out below, its grasses rippling like a green sea, leading to a line of trees that marked the edge of Grandma Clara's property. A rusty barbed wire fence ran along the boundary, sagging in places where time and weather had taken their toll. The air was alive with the hum of insects and the distant trill of a bird, but otherwise it was quiet, almost too quiet, as if the meadow was holding its breath. Lily took a step forward, her curiosity pulling her down the slope. She was about to call out, pretending to be a brave explorer announcing her arrival, when a sound stopped her cold. It was faint at first, a soft, pained whimper that seemed to come from the direction of the fence. She froze, her head tilting as she listened. There it was again, louder now, a desperate animal cry that sent a shiver down her spine. It wasn't a bird or a fox. It was something in trouble, something that needed help. "Hello," Lily called, softly, her voice trembling slightly. She knew an animal wouldn't answer, but the silence felt too heavy without her words. The whimper came again, more urgent, pulling her toward the fence like a thread tugging at her heart. Her promise to Grandma Clara flickered in her mind, but the sound of suffering drowned it out. Whatever was out there, Lily couldn't ignore it. She had to find out what it was, and if she could help. Lily's heart pounded as she followed the plaintive whimpers, her sneakers slipping slightly on the dew-damp grass of the meadow. The sun still shone brightly, but its warmth felt distant now, overshadowed by the urgency in the air. The barbed wire fence loomed closer, its rusty strands glinting ominously in the light. The cries grew louder, more desperate, each one twisting, something deep in Lily's chest. She pushed through the tall grasses, their feathery tips brushing against her arms, until she reached a dip in the land near the fence line, partially hidden by a cluster of prickly blackberry bushes. What she saw made her gasp, her hand flying to her mouth. A large Labrador retriever hung awkwardly from the barbed wire, her golden fur matted with blood where the cruel barbs had bitten into her back legs. The dog's body was twisted, her front paws barely touching the ground as she struggled to free herself. But it was her belly that stopped Lily's breath, swollen and round, heavy with the unmistakable signs of pregnancy. The dog's eyes, a warm brown filled with pain and fear, locked onto Lily's, and in that moment something passed between them, a silent plea, a spark of trust that felt almost tangible. "Oh no," Lily whispered, her voice trembling as she took a cautious step forward. "You poor thing, how did this happen?" The dog whimpered again, a sound so full of suffering that tears prickled Lily's eyes. She blinked them away, her mind racing. She'd seen her mom, Sarah, tend to injured animals before, stray cats, a rabbit caught in a garden net, but nothing like this. This was bigger, scarier, and far more urgent. The Labrador's ears flattened and a low growl rumbled from her throat as Lily moved closer. Lily froze, her mum's warnings about strange animals echoing in her head. "Never rush up to a hurt animal, Lily. They're scared, and scared animals can bite." She took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. "It's okay," she said, softly, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling inside her. "I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help." The growl intensified, the dog's lips pulling back to reveal white teeth. Lily's heart skipped, but the sight of the animal's swollen belly and the blood-streaked fur kept her rooted to the spot. She couldn't run away, not when this dog needed her. Instead, she slowly lowered herself to the ground, sitting cross-legged in the grass a safe distance away. The sun beat down on her head, but she ignored it, focusing entirely on the trapped animal. "My name's Lily," she said, as if chatting with a friend at school. "My mom's a nurse and she helps animals sometimes, like when our neighbor's cat got stuck in a tree. I bet she'd know what to do for you." The dog's growling softened, her ears twitching slightly as she listened. Lily kept talking, her voice a gentle stream of words meant to soothe. "You must be so scared, stuck like that. I'd be scared too. It looks like it hurts a lot." Noticing a worn leather collar around the dog's neck, Lily squinted to read the tarnished tag. "Daisy," she said aloud, a smile breaking through her worry. "Is that your name? It's perfect for you, like the flowers in Grandma's garden." Daisy's tail gave a weak twitch, a tiny movement that made Lily's heart soar. It was a sign, however small, that Daisy was listening, that she might trust her. Lily remembered the apple in her pocket, a snack she'd grabbed from Grandma Clara's fruit bowl. She pulled it out, its red skin warm from her body heat. "Ah. You hungry, Daisy?" she asked, carefully breaking off a small piece. "It's really sweet. I ate half of one earlier." She tossed the piece gently, letting it land just within Daisy's reach. The dog sniffed it suspiciously, her nose twitching, then stretched her neck and nibbled it up. Lily's smile widened. "See, it's good, right?" For several minutes, Lily continued this ritual, talking softly, tossing bits of apple, each one a little closer to where she sat. Daisy's growls faded entirely, replaced by soft whimpers when she shifted and the wire dug deeper. Lily inched forward on her knees, moving slowly to avoid startling the dog. When she was close enough, she leaned in to read the collar's tag more clearly. "Daisy," she confirmed, her voice warm with affection. "I'm gonna help you, I promise." Daisy's eyes, still pained but now reflecting a glimmer of hope, seemed to understand. Lily reached out a hand, palm up, just as her mom had taught her. Daisy sniffed her fingers, her wet nose brushing Lily's skin. Then, in a moment that felt like magic, the dog pressed her head against Lily's palm, a gesture of trust that brought a lump to Lily's throat. "You're so brave," Lily whispered, stroking Daisy's soft fur. "We're going to get you out of here, okay?" But as she looked closer, Lily's heart sank. The barbed wire was embedded deeply in Daisy's legs, and her belly rippled with a sudden movement, a contraction. The puppies were coming, and Daisy was still trapped, helpless in the summer heat with no one but an 8-year-old girl to save her. Lily's hand lingered on Daisy's head, her fingers tracing the soft, golden fur behind the Labrador's ears. The dog's eyes, though clouded with pain, held a quiet gratitude that made Lily's chest ache with purpose. The meadow around them buzzed with the hum of cicadas, but the world seemed to shrink to just the two of them, Lily, an 8-year-old, with a heart full of determination, and Daisy, a pregnant dog caught in a cruel twist of barbed wire. The sun climbed higher, its heat pressing down, and Lily knew time was slipping away. Daisy's belly twitched again, another contraction rippling through her, a stark reminder that the puppies wouldn't wait. "It's okay, Daisy," Lily murmured, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves in her stomach. "I'm right. Here with you." She remembered her mum's stories about calming animals at the clinic, how a soft tone and slow movements could work wonders. Daisy's earlier growls had faded, but Lily could still sense the dog's fear, her body tense against the biting wire. Building trust was the first step, and Lily was determined to get it right. She sat back on her heels, keeping her movements deliberate, and studied Daisy's face. The Labrador's brown eyes followed her, wary but curious, as if weighing whether this small human could be relied upon. Lily thought of her mum's advice. "Animals can feel your heart, Lily. If you're calm, they'll feel safe." She took a deep breath, letting her shoulders relax, and smiled at Daisy. "You're so pretty, you know that? Like the golden retriever in the book Mom reads me, the one who saves the lost hiker." Daisy's ears flicked forward, catching Lily's words. Encouraged, Lily kept talking, weaving a stream of gentle chatter to fill the silence. "My mum's always helping animals. Once, she fixed a bird's wing with a tiny splint, and it flew away the next week. I helped her feed it with a dropper. I wish she was here now. She'd know exactly how to get you out." The dog's tail gave another weak twitch, and Lily's heart lifted. It was working. Daisy was listening. Reaching into her pocket, Lily pulled out the rest of the apple, now slightly squished from her adventure. She broke off another piece, smaller this time, and held it out in her open palm, letting Daisy see it clearly. "Want some more? It's super sweet, I promise." She leaned forward slowly, stopping when Daisy's body tensed. The dog sniffed the air, her nose twitching, then stretched her neck as far as the wire allowed, snatching the apple piece with a quick, delicate bite. Lily giggled, the sound bubbling up despite the seriousness of the moment. "You like it, don't you?" For the next 10 minutes, Lily repeated the process, tearing off bits of apple and tossing them gently, each one landing a little closer to her. She moved with exaggerated care, scooting forward on her knees inch by inch, giving Daisy time to adjust to her presence. "My grandma makes the best apple pie," she said, tossing another piece. "She puts cinnamon in it, and it smells so good. Maybe when you're free we can sneak you a tiny bit. Don't tell her, though." Daisy's eyes softened, and she gobbled up the apple, her wariness easing with each offering. Lily noticed the collar again, its worn leather peeking through Daisy's fur. She leaned in just enough to read the tag without startling the dog. "Daisy," she said softly, testing the name again. "It suits you. You're sweet like a flower, but strong too, holding on like this." Daisy's head tilted slightly, and for the first time her tongue flicked out, licking her lips in a way that felt like agreement. Lily's smile widened. "See? We're friends now." Emboldened, Lily edged closer, now just an arm's length away. Daisy's body stiffened briefly, but she didn't growl, her eyes tracking Lily's every move. "I'm gonna touch you again, okay?" Lily said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just your head, super gentle, like Mom does with scared cats." She extended her hand, palm up, fingers curled slightly, and held her breath. Daisy sniffed. Her hand, her warm breath tickling Lily's skin. Then, in a moment that felt like a gift, the dog pressed her muzzle against Lily's fingers, a soft, deliberate nudge. Tears stung Lily's eyes, but she blinked them back, not wanting to break the spell. "You trust me," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. She stroked Daisy's head, her touch light but steady, feeling the dog lean into her hand, despite the pain of the wire. The connection between them was electric, a bridge built of apple bits and quiet words, strong enough to hold them both in this desperate moment. But the peace was fleeting. Daisy's body tensed, her belly rippling with another contraction, stronger this time. A low whimper escaped her, and her eyes widened with fear. Lily's stomach twisted. She knew what was coming. The puppies were on their way, and Daisy was still trapped, her strength fading under the relentless sun. Lily's mind raced. She had to do more than build trust now. She had to find a way to free Daisy before it was too late. Lily's hand lingered on Daisy's head, the Labrador's soft fur warm under her fingers, but the moment of connection was shattered by another sharp whimper. Daisy's body shuddered as a contraction gripped her swollen belly rippling visibly under the golden coat. The barbed wire held her fast, its cruel barbs digging deeper with every movement, blood matting the fur around her back legs. Lily's heart raced, her earlier triumph at earning Daisy's trust giving way to a rising panic. The puppies were coming, soon, maybe too soon, and Daisy was still trapped, helpless in the meadow's unrelenting heat. "You're gonna be okay, Daisy," Lily said, her voice trembling but firm, as much to convince herself as the dog. She wiped her sweaty palms on her shorts, her mind scrambling for a plan. She'd seen her mum, Sarah, handle emergencies with calm precision, but Lily was just 8, with no tools, no experience, and no one to help. Still, Daisy's trusting eyes locked onto hers, and Lily felt a surge of determination. She couldn't let this brave dog down. Lily studied the barbed wire, its rusty strands twisted tightly around Daisy's legs. The fence was old, sagging, in places, but the barbs were sharp, embedded in the dog's flesh. She remembered a time when her mum had freed a rabbit from a garden net, using careful hands and a steady voice. "We need to lift the wire off you," Lily said, thinking aloud. "Maybe I can find something to help." She scanned the meadow, her eyes landing on a fallen branch a few feet away, half buried in the grass. It was thick, about the length of her arm, and looked sturdy enough. "Hold on, Daisy, I'll be right back," she said, giving the dog's head a quick, reassuring pat. She scrambled to the branch, her sneakers slipping on the uneven ground, and tugged it free with a grunt. It was heavier than it looked, but Lily dragged it back, her small arms straining under the weight. "Okay, here's the plan," she told Daisy, positioning the branch under the lowest strand of wire near the dog's legs. "I'm going to try to lift this up so it doesn't hurt you anymore." Daisy's eyes followed her breathing shallow but steady as if she understood. Lily pushed down on the branch with all her might, using it like a lever. The wire creaked but barely budged, the barbs still biting into Daisy's fur. The dog whimpered, her body tensing, and Lily quickly eased off, her heart sinking. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it worse," she said, her voice cracking. Another contraction hit Daisy, stronger this time, and the dog let out a low, pained groan. Lily's eyes widened, fear clawing at her chest. She'd seen a video at school about animal births, part of a science lesson, and knew that puppies needed a safe, calm place to be born, not a muddy ditch with their mother hanging from a fence. "Oh no, Daisy, not yet," she whispered, her hands trembling as she set the branch down. She had to try again, had to find a way to free her. Lily circled the fence, looking for a weak point. She spotted a spot where the wire sagged lower, the post leaning slightly from years of neglect. Maybe if she could loosen it there, it would give Daisy enough slack to slip free. She grabbed another stick, thinner but longer, and wedged it under the sagging strand. "Please work," she muttered, throwing her weight against it. The wire lifted a fraction of an inch, but the effort made Daisy shift, causing the barbs to twist in her wounds. The dog yelped, a sharp sound that cut through Lily like a knife. "I'm so sorry," Lily cried, dropping the stick and rushing back to Daisy's side. Tears welled in her eyes, and she wiped them away with a dirty hand, leaving a smudge on her cheek. "I'm not strong enough," she admitted, her voice small. She stroked Daisy's head, the dog's warm breath against her hand, a reminder of the life depending on her. "But I'm not giving up, I promise." The sky, so clear when Lily had ventured out, now showed the first signs of trouble. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, their edges tinged with grey, and a distant rumble of thunder rolled across the meadow. Lily's stomach twisted. A storm was coming, and Daisy was still trapped, her puppies on the way. She looked around desperately, hoping for a miracle, a tool, a person, anything. But the meadow was empty, the farmhouse too far to see. Daisy's body tensed again, another contraction, and her eyes met Lily's with a mix of pain and trust. Lily's mind raced. She couldn't free Daisy alone, not with sticks and her small hands. She needed help, Grandma Clara, her mom, someone who knew what to do. But leaving Daisy felt like breaking a promise, especially now, with the storm closing. In and the puppies so close to arriving. "What do I do, Daisy?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rising wind. The dog's soft whine was her only answer, a sound that tore at Lily's heart. She knew she had to act, had to make a choice before it was too late. The thought of running back to the farmhouse, of facing Grandma Clara's anger, was daunting, but the thought of losing Daisy and her puppies was unbearable. Lily took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. She had to try for Daisy's sake. Lily knelt beside Daisy, her small hand resting on the Labrador's trembling head, the dog's soft whimpers cutting through the rising hum of the wind. The meadow, once bright and inviting, now felt ominous, the dark clouds on the horizon swelling closer, their edges bruised with the promise of rain. Daisy's belly rippled with another contraction, her brown eyes wide with pain and trust as they locked onto Lily's. The barbed wire still held her fast, its cruel barbs unyielding despite Lily's desperate attempts to free her. The reality crashed over Lily like a wave. She couldn't do this alone. Daisy and her unborn puppies needed help, real help, and they needed it now. "I'm so sorry, Daisy," Lily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them back, determined to stay strong for the dog who had trusted her. "I tried, but I'm not strong enough. I have to get someone who can save you." Daisy's ears twitched, as if she understood, and she pressed her muzzle against Lily's hand, a gesture that felt like both a plea and a reassurance. Lily's heart ached at the thought of leaving her, but the approaching storm and the urgency of Daisy's labor left her no choice. She stood, her legs shaky from kneeling so long, and took a deep breath. "I promise I'll come back," she said, looking directly into Daisy's eyes. "I'll bring help and we'll get you and your puppies out of here. Just hold on, okay? Be brave for a little longer." Daisy let out a soft whine, a sound so full of trust that it nearly broke Lily's resolve to leave. But another distant rumble of thunder spurred her into action. She had to move fast. Lily turned and sprinted up the hill, her sneakers pounding against the soft earth. The first fat raindrops began to fall, splattering against her face and mingling with the sweat on her brow. Her lungs burned, but she pushed harder, driven by the image of Daisy hanging helplessly from the fence, her puppies depending on a little girl's promise. The meadow blurred around her, the wildflowers and grasses a green haze as she crested the hill. The farmhouse came into view, its white walls a beacon in the gathering gloom, but it seemed impossibly far, a tiny speck against the vast countryside. "Grandma!" Lily shouted, her voice hoarse and nearly lost in the wind. She waved her arms as she ran, hoping Grandma Clara might see her from the porch or window. The rain fell harder now, soaking her t-shirt and plastering her curls to her forehead. Lightning flashed, a jagged streak across the sky, followed by a crack of thunder. That made her stumble. Fear clawed at her, but she thought of Daisy's trusting eyes and ran faster, her small body propelled by a courage she didn't know she had. As she neared the farmhouse, Lily spotted Grandma Clara on the porch, her hands cupped around her mouth, calling out, "Lily, Lily, where are you?" Her voice was sharp with worry, tinged with the anger Lily had dreaded. Grandma's silver hair was damp, her apron flapping in the wind as she scanned the yard, her eyes wide with fear. "Grandma!" Lily gasped, her voice breaking as she reached the porch steps. She doubled over, hands on her knees, trying to catch her breath. "Grandma, I need help!" Grandma Clara's face shifted from worry to relief, then quickly to anger as she rushed forward. "Lily Harper, where on earth have you been? I told you to stay in the yard. I've been calling for you, scared half to death." She grabbed Lily's shoulders, her grip firm but trembling, her eyes searching her granddaughter's face for answers. "I'm sorry, Grandma," Lily panted, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I know I wasn't supposed to go, but there's a dog, a Labrador, her name's Daisy. She's stuck in the barbed wire fence by the meadow. She's hurt bad, and she's going to have puppies. And they're coming now. We have to help her. Please?" Grandma Clara's expression softened, but skepticism crept into her eyes. A dog? Out there in the storm? Lily, are you sure you didn't imagine it? You know how your stories get sometimes. She straightened, glancing at the darkening sky, the rain now falling in steady sheets. She's real, Grandma, Lily insisted, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. Her name's on her collar, Daisy. She's bleeding and the puppies are coming, and I tried to free her, but I couldn't. Please, we have to go now. Her voice cracked with desperation, her hands clutching at Grandma's apron. Grandma, Clara hesitated, her gaze flickering between Lily's pleading face and the storm raging beyond the porch. Thunder boomed again, closer this time, and Lily saw a flicker of doubt in her grandmother's eyes. "We can't go out in this weather, child," she said, her tone firm, but not unkind. "It's too dangerous. I'll call Dr. Ellis, the veterinarian. He'll know what to do." "But that'll take too long," Lily protested, her voice rising. "Daisy can't wait. She needs us now." She tugged at Grandma's hand, her small body trembling with urgency. "That's enough, Lily," Grandma Clara said, steering her toward the door. "You're soaked through and shaking. Get inside and I'll make the call. We'll do what we can." Her voice left no room for argument, but Lily's heart sank. She knew Dr. Ellis lived miles away, and the storm would slow him down. Daisy didn't have hours. She needed help now. As Grandma Clara turned to the phone, Lily's mind raced. She'd made a promise to Daisy, a solemn vow sealed with trust and apple bits. The thought of breaking it, of leaving Daisy to suffer, alone was unbearable. She glanced at the back door, her resolve hardening. She couldn't wait for adults to decide. She had to act, storm or no storm. Lily stood dripping in the farmhouse kitchen, her sneakers leaving muddy puddles on the worn linoleum. The warmth of the room, scented with peaches and cinnamon, felt stifling compared to the wild urgency of the meadow. Rain pounded against the windows, a relentless drumbeat that echoed Lily's racing heart. Grandma Clara hung up the phone, her face a mix of relief and stern resolve as she turned to her granddaughter. Outside, the storm raged, lightning illuminating the darkening sky, but all Lily could think of was Daisy, trapped in pain and counting on her. "Dr. Ellis is on his way," Grandma Clara announced, wiping her hands on her apron. "He'll be here as soon as the storm lets up, but it might be a while with the roads turning to mud. Now, Lily, go get cleaned up. You're soaked to the bone, and we'll have supper once this blows over." "A while," Lily repeated, her voice rising with disbelief. "Grandma, Daisy can't wait that long. She's having her puppies now, and she's bleeding, and the wire's hurting her." Tears welled in her eyes, spilling over despite her efforts to hold them back. She clenched her fists, her small body trembling with frustration and fear. "I promised her I'd help." Grandma Clara's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. "Lily, I know you're worried, but you can't go back out there. It's dangerous, lightning, slippery ground, and who knows what else. Dr. Ellis knows how to handle animals in trouble. He'll take care of this dog when he gets here." "But she's not just some dog," Lily protested, her voice breaking. "Her name's Daisy, and she trusted me. I gave her my apple and she let me pet her, and I told her I'd come back. If I don't, she might give up, and her puppies—" She trailed off, her throat tightening at the thought of Daisy alone in the storm, her puppies born into mud and rain. Grandma Clara knelt to Lily's level, her hands gentle on her granddaughter's shoulders. "I understand you want to help, sweetheart, but you're 8 years old. You did the right thing by coming to get me. Now we have to let the grown-ups handle it." Her eyes, usually so steady, held a flicker of worry, and Lily realized Grandma was scared too, not just for her but for the dog she hadn't yet seen. Lily shook her head, pulling away. "You don't understand, Grandma. Daisy's counting on me. I can't break my promise." Her voice was fierce, fueled by the memory of Daisy's trusting nudge, the way the Labrador had leaned into her touch despite her pain. She glanced at the kitchen window, where sheets of rain blurred the world beyond. The meadow was out there, hidden in the storm, and Daisy was waiting. "Enough, Lily," Grandma Clara said, standing and pointing toward the hallway. "Go wash your hands and change out of those wet clothes. I won't have you catching a cold on top of everything else." She turned back to the counter, busying herself with the peach jars, but Lily saw the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands shook slightly as she worked. Lily trudged toward the bathroom, her sneakers squelching with every step. But her mind was far from obedience. She passed the utility room, its door ajar, and caught a glimpse of Grandma's emergency supplies, a flashlight, a first aid kit, a pair of heavy scissors hanging on a hook. Her heart skipped. Those scissors could cut wire, couldn't they? She'd seen her mom use something similar to snip through tough netting. An idea took root, reckless but irresistible. She paused, glancing back at the kitchen. Grandma Clara was humming again, her back turned, focused on her task. Lily's promise to Daisy echoed louder than Grandma's warnings, louder than the thunder, outside. She knew disobeying was wrong, knew it could get her in more trouble than she'd ever faced, but the thought of Daisy suffering, of her puppies arriving without help, was worse than any punishment. She had to try, even if it meant facing the storm alone. Lily slipped into the utility room, her movements quick and quiet. Her small hands grabbed the flashlight, its weight reassuring in her grip, and the first aid kit, just in case. The scissors were heavier than she expected, their handles cold against her palm, but she tucked them into the waistband of her shorts, pulling her t-shirt over to hide them. She found an old towel on a shelf and stuffed it into a canvas bag she spotted on the floor, her heart pounding with the thrill of her plan. The rain roared outside, and another flash of lightning lit the room, casting long shadows. Lily hesitated, her hand on the back door's knob. She knew what she was about to do would make Grandma furious, maybe even scare her more than Lily's earlier disappearance. But Daisy's trusting eyes, her soft whines, were stronger than fear. "I'm coming, Daisy," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. She waited until Grandma Clara moved to the stove, her humming masking the creak of the door, then slipped outside. The rain hit her like a wall, soaking her instantly, but Lily didn't falter. She clutched the bag to her chest and ran, the flashlight bouncing against her hip, her sneakers slipping on the wet grass. The hill loomed ahead, shrouded in rain, but Lily's resolve burned bright. She was breaking every rule, but for Daisy and her puppies it was worth it. The rain lashed Lily's face as she sprinted across the sodden yard, her sneakers sinking into the muddy earth with every step. The storm had transformed the familiar farm into a wild, chaotic world, with wind whipping her curls into a tangled mess and thunder rumbling like an angry giant. The canvas bag bounced against her shoulder, the flashlight and scissors inside, clanking softly, a reminder of her mission. Lightning illuminated the hill ahead, its slope now a slick, treacherous path, but Lily's heart was fixed on Daisy, trapped, in pain, and waiting for her promise to be kept. "I'm coming, Daisy," Lily whispered, her voice swallowed by the storm's roar. Her clothes clung to her skin, heavy with water, and her teeth chattered despite the adrenaline coursing through her. She knew she was in trouble, big trouble, with Grandma Clara, but the memory of Daisy's trusting eyes, her soft nudge against Lily's hand, pushed her forward. She couldn't let Daisy face this alone, not when the puppies were so close to being born. The hill was steeper and slipperier than before, the grass turned to a muddy slide by the downpour. Lily half ran, half slid down the other side, clutching the bag to keep it from tumbling away. The meadow was a blur of rain and shadow, the barbed wire fence barely visible in the growing darkness. A flash of lightning lit the scene, guiding her to the dip where Daisy hung, her golden fur drenched and matted, her body trembling with exhaustion and pain. "Oh, Daisy," Lily gasped, dropping to her knees beside the Labrador. The sight was worse than she'd feared. Daisy's head hung low, her breathing ragged, and the ground beneath her was a muddy mess. A tiny, wet bundle lay in the muck, a puppy, barely, moving, its small body cold and slick with rain. Lily's heart lurched. The first puppy had arrived, born into this nightmare, and Daisy was still caught, unable to care for it. "It's okay, Daisy, I'm here now," Lily said, her voice shaking but determined. She set the bag down and pulled out the towel, her hands trembling as she gently scooped up the puppy. It was so small, its eyes still closed, its fur dark and matted. She remembered her mom's lessons about newborn animals, how they needed warmth and stimulation to survive. Wrapping the puppy in the towel, she rubbed it gently, mimicking the way her mom had revived a weak kitten once. "Come on, little one. Breathe," she pleaded, her fingers careful but firm. After a moment that felt like forever, the puppy gave a tiny squeak, its body twitching with life. Relief flooded Lily, and she tucked the towel around it, placing it near Daisy's head, where the mother dog could reach. Daisy's tongue flicked out, instinctively licking her newborn, her maternal drive stronger than her pain. "You're such a good mom," Lily whispered, stroking Daisy's wet fur. The dog's eyes met hers, a flicker of gratitude amidst the exhaustion. Lily turned to the scissors, her heart pounding as she pulled them from her waistband. They were heavy, their blades duller than she'd hoped, but they were her best chance. "I'm going to cut the wire, Daisy," she said, positioning herself beside the dog's back legs. The rain made the metal slippery, and her hands shook as she tried to fit the blades around the lowest strand. She squeezed with all her strength, but the wire resisted, the scissors barely denting it. "Come on," she muttered, trying again, her small muscles straining. Daisy whimpered as the movement jostled the barbs, and Lily's stomach twisted with guilt. "I'm sorry, I'm trying," she said, repositioning the scissors. She pushed. Harder, using both hands, her knuckles white with effort. The wire gave slightly, a faint snap that gave her hope, but it wasn't enough to free Daisy. Another contraction gripped the dog, her body tensing, and Lily realized a second puppy was coming. Panic surged. She wasn't fast enough, and the storm was only getting worse. Lightning flashed again, closer now, the thunder immediate and deafening. Daisy let out a low, frightened whine, her eyes wide with fear. Lily flinched but kept working, her hands slipping on the wet scissors. A small cut opened on her palm from a barb, blood mixing with rainwater, but she barely noticed. So focused was she on Daisy. "Just a little more," she said, her voice a desperate chant. But the scissors were too weak, her strength too small, and the wire held fast. The second puppy arrived, sliding into the mud beneath Daisy. Lily dropped the scissors and grabbed the towel, catching the tiny creature before it could sink into the muck. She dried it quickly, rubbing its body to stimulate breathing, her heart pounding as she waited for a sign of life. "Please, please," she whispered, her breath hitching. The puppy twitched, then squeaked, and Lily nearly sobbed with relief. She placed it beside its sibling near Daisy's head, where the mother dog began to lick it clean. Lily sat back, her hands shaking, the scissors lying useless in the mud. The rain pounded down, and Daisy's contractions continued, signaling more puppies to come. Lily knew she was out of her depth. Cutting the wire was beyond her, and the storm was too dangerous for her to stay. But leaving Daisy again felt like betrayal. She stroked the dog's head, her tears mixing with the rain. "I don't know what else to do," she admitted, her voice small. "But I'm not giving up on you." A beam of light cut through the darkness, sweeping across the meadow. Lily squinted, shielding her eyes, unsure if it was lightning or something else. "Lily," a voice called, faint but urgent, barely audible over the wind. "Lily, are you out here?" Hope surged in Lily's chest. Someone was coming, maybe Grandma Clara, maybe Dr. Ellis. She waved her arms, shouting, "Here! We're over here." The light swung toward her, and she prayed it was help, not harm, arriving in the nick of time for Daisy and her puppies. Lily's voice cracked as she shouted into the storm, her arms waving frantically to catch the beam of light slicing through the rain-soaked darkness. "Here, we're over here." The wind howled, nearly drowning her words, but the light steadied, homing in on her position by the barbed wire fence. Daisy whimpered beside her, her body racked by another contraction. The two newborn puppies nestled against her head, protected by Lily's towel. The meadow was a chaos of mud and rain, but the approaching light sparked a flicker of hope in Lily's heart. Help was coming, she just prayed it would be in time. The beam grew brighter, and a figure emerged through the downpour, raincoat glistening, a powerful flashlight in hand. "Lily?" a deep voice called, steady despite the storm's roar. "Is that you?" As the figure drew closer, Lily recognized the tall, broad-shouldered silhouette of Dr. Ellis, the veterinarian Grandma Clara had called. His face, lined with concern, softened with relief when he saw her, though his eyes quickly shifted to Daisy, taking in the dire scene. "Dr. Ellis!" Lily cried, her voice breaking with a mix of relief and urgency. She scrambled to her feet, mud clinging to her knees. "It's Daisy, she's stuck in the wire, and her puppies are coming." I tried to cut it, but I couldn't, and now there's two born, and she's hurting so bad. Dr. Ellis knelt beside Daisy, his flashlight illuminating the Labrador's matted fur and the cruel barbs embedded in her legs. His expression tightened, but his movements were calm, professional. "You did good, Lily, finding her and staying with her," he said, his voice steadying her racing heart. He set down a medical bag and pulled out a pair of heavy-duty wire cutters, their blades gleaming even in the dim light. "Let's get her free." Before he could start, another figure appeared, breathless and soaked. Grandma Clara, her silver hair plastered to her face, her apron abandoned somewhere along the way. "Lily Harper!" she exclaimed, her voice a mix of anger and fear as she reached them. "You scared me half to death running off like that." But her eyes softened when she saw Daisy and the puppies, and she knelt beside Lily, pulling her close despite the mud. "Oh, child, you're gonna be the death of me." "I'm sorry, Grandma," Lily said, her voice muffled against Grandma Clara's shoulder. "But I had to come back for Daisy, I promised." Grandma Clara sighed, her grip tightening briefly before she released Lily. "We'll talk about that later. Right now, let's help this poor dog." Dr. Ellis worked quickly, his hands steady as he positioned the wire cutters around the first strand of barbed wire. "Hold the flashlight for me, Lily," he instructed, and she grabbed it from the mud, directing the beam where he pointed. The rain made the metal slick, but Dr. Ellis's experience showed. He snipped the wire with a clean snap, easing the pressure on Daisy's leg. The dog yelped softly, but her eyes stayed fixed on Dr. Ellis as if sensing rescue was near. "Easy, girl," Dr. Ellis murmured, moving to the second strand. Another snap, and Daisy's body sagged slightly, her back legs freed from the worst of the wire's grip. But she was too weak to move, her body trembling from pain and exhaustion. Dr. Ellis gently lifted her, careful not to jostle her wounds, and laid her on a dry patch of grass a few feet away, where Grandma Clara spread the towel from Lily's bag. "She's in labor," Lily said, her voice urgent as she pointed to Daisy's rippling belly. "The puppies are coming fast." Dr. Ellis nodded, his hands already moving to assess Daisy. "You're right, and she's doing her best under the circumstances." He pulled a clean blanket from his bag, draping it over Daisy to shield her from the rain, which had begun to lighten. "Lily, you've been incredible. Those puppies might not have made it without you keeping them warm." Lily's cheeks flushed with pride, but her focus stayed on Daisy. A third puppy was arriving, and Dr. Ellis positioned himself to assist. "Grandma, can you hold the blanket up?" he asked. Grandma Clara complied, creating a makeshift canopy, as Dr. Ellis gently helped the newborn into the world. The puppy, slick and tiny, squeaked almost immediately, and Lily's heart lifted as Dr. Ellis dried it with a cloth from his bag, placing it beside its siblings near Daisy's head. "You're amazing, Daisy," Lily whispered, stroking the dog's wet fur. Daisy's tongue flicked out, licking the new puppy, her maternal instincts unwavering despite her ordeal. A fourth puppy followed soon after, and Dr. Ellis worked with quiet efficiency, ensuring each was breathing and warm. Lily watched in awe, her fear easing with every squeak from the newborns. The storm was subsiding, the thunder now a distant grumble, but the meadow remained a muddy mess. Dr. Ellis examined Daisy's wounds, cleaning them with antiseptic from his bag. "She's got some deep cuts, but nothing that won't heal with proper care," he said, his voice reassuring. "The puppies look strong thanks to you, Lily. You kept them alive out here." Grandma Clara, still holding the blanket, looked at Lily with a mix of exasperation and pride. "You're as stubborn as your mother, you know that? But you've got her heart too." Lily smiled, though her body was starting to feel the weight of her adventure, cold, wet, and utterly exhausted. She glanced at Dr. Ellis, a question burning in her mind. "Is Daisy going to be okay now, and her puppies?" Dr. Ellis met her gaze, his expression warm. "With some rest and care, I think they'll all be just fine. You gave them a fighting chance, Lily. Not many kids or adults would have done what you did." As Dr. Ellis prepared to move Daisy and the puppies to his truck, parked at the edge of the meadow, Lily felt a swell of relief, but also a nagging curiosity. Daisy's collar, her gentle nature. There was a story behind this dog, and Lily wanted to know it. Little did she know the truth about Daisy. was about to deepen the miracle of this stormy day. The rain had dwindled to a soft drizzle as Dr. Ellis carefully lifted Daisy, her golden fur still damp, but her breathing steadier now. Lily hovered, close, clutching the towel that had cradled the puppies, her eyes never leaving the Labrador or the 4 tiny newborns nestled in a blanket in Grandma Clara's arms. The meadow, battered by the storm, glistened under the emerging moonlight, its wild beauty softened by the quiet that followed the chaos. Lily's body ached with cold and exhaustion, but her heart thrummed with a mix of relief and curiosity. Daisy was safe, her puppies alive, but questions swirled in Lily's mind. How had such a gentle, collared dog ended up tangled in a fence, so far from help? Dr. Ellis led the way to his truck, parked on a dirt track at the meadow's edge, his steps careful to avoid jostling Daisy. "We'll get her to the clinic," he said, his voice calm but firm. "She needs proper treatment for those wounds. And the puppies need warmth and monitoring." He glanced at Lily, a hint of admiration in his eyes. "You did something extraordinary out here, Lily. Most folks would have run the other way." Lily blushed, tucking a wet curl behind her ear. "I just couldn't leave her," she said softly, her gaze dropping to Daisy's face. The dog's eyes, though tired, held a quiet strength, and Lily felt that same spark of connection from their first moment by the fence. "She trusted me." Grandma Clara, cradling the puppies, gave Lily a look that was half scolding, half proud. "You're lucky Dr. Ellis got here when he did, young lady, but I'll admit you've got more courage than sense, just like your mama." She adjusted the blanket, ensuring the puppies were snug, and followed Dr. Ellis to the truck. As they reached the vehicle, Dr. Ellis lowered Daisy onto a bed of blankets in the back, where he'd rigged a temporary shelter to keep her dry. He paused, his hand resting on the dog's collar, and his expression shifted. Surprise, then recognition. He leaned closer, squinting at the worn leather tag in the flashlight's beam. "Daisy," he read aloud, his voice catching. He looked up, his eyes wide with disbelief. "This is my Daisy." Lily's mouth fell open. "Your Daisy?" she echoed, stepping closer. "You mean she's your dog?" Dr. Ellis nodded, his face a mix of relief and emotion. "She's been mine for 3 years. I run a therapy dog program at my clinic. She visits nursing homes, helps calm the residents, especially those with dementia. She's got a gift for it, always knows when someone needs comfort." He stroked Daisy's head, and the dog's tail thumped weakly, a faint wag of recognition. "3 weeks ago, someone broke into the clinic at night and took her. I've been searching ever since, posters, calls to shelters, everything. I thought I'd never see her again." Lily's heart swelled, her exhaustion forgotten. "She was stolen?" she asked, her voice tinged with indignation. "Who would do that?" Dr. Ellis's jaw tightened, but he kept his tone even for Lily's. "Salk? People who want to make money. Daisy's a purebred Labrador trained as a therapy dog. Her puppies could fetch a high price, especially if they inherit her temperament. Whoever took her probably didn't expect her to go into labor so soon, or maybe she escaped, trying to get home." He shook his head, his eyes returning to Daisy. "Either way, she ended up here, and if it wasn't for you, Lily, we might have lost her and her puppies." Grandma Clara, still holding the puppies, looked at Lily with newfound respect. "You didn't just save a dog, child. You brought—" this man's friend back to him. She glanced at Dr. Ellis, her voice softening. "I'm sorry for what you've been through, Doctor, but it seems fate had a hand in this." Lily's mind raced, piecing together the story. Daisy wasn't just any dog. She was special, trained, to help people, to bring comfort where it was needed most. The thought that someone could steal her, could leave her to suffer in offense, made Lily's chest tighten with anger. But that anger melted into pride as she realized what she'd done. She'd kept her promise, not just to Daisy, but to Dr. Ellis, to the people Daisy helped, and to the puppies who might one day follow in their mother's paw prints. Dr. Ellis opened the truck's passenger door, gesturing for Lily and Grandma Clara to climb in. "Let's get everyone to the clinic," he said. "Lily, you can help me keep an eye on the puppies. They're strong, but they'll need care to make sure they stay that way." Lily nodded eagerly, climbing into the truck with the blanket-wrapped puppies in her lap. She peeked under the blanket, marveling at their tiny, squirming bodies. their eyes still closed but their instincts already strong. Daisy, settled in the back, let out a soft sigh, as if sensing she was finally safe. Grandma Clara slid in beside Lily, her arm around her granddaughter's shoulders, and Dr. Ellis started the engine, the truck's headlights cutting through the last of the drizzle. As they bumped along the dirt track, Lily's thoughts turned to the future. Daisy was going home, but what about her puppies? And what about the people who'd stolen her? Would they try again? She glanced at Dr. Ellis, his face focused but kind, and felt a surge of trust. He'd take care of Daisy, just like she had. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that her adventure with Daisy wasn't over, that this stormy night had started something bigger than she could yet understand. The Lakeside Veterinary Clinic glowed warmly against the early morning sky, its windows casting pools of light onto the gravel lot. Inside, the air smelled of antiseptic and fresh coffee, a stark contrast to the muddy, storm-soaked meadow Lily had left behind. Daisy rested in a padded whelping box in the exam room, her golden fur cleaned and her wounds bandaged, her 4 puppies nursing contentedly at her side. Lily sat cross-legged on the floor nearby, her damp clothes replaced with a too large clinic t-shirt, her eyes heavy but bright with awe. The adrenaline of the night was fading, leaving her bone-tired but filled with a quiet pride she'd never felt before. Dr. Ellis moved efficiently, checking Daisy's vitals and weighing each puppy on a small scale. "They're all healthy," he announced, placing the last puppy back with its siblings. "Good weight, strong instincts. You gave them a real chance out there, Lily." He smiled, his tired face softening. "Not to mention saving my best therapy dog." Lily beamed, though her cheeks flushed with the praise. "I just did what I had to," she said softly, her fingers brushing Daisy's ear. The Labrador's tail thumped gently, her eyes meeting Lily's with that same trusting gaze that had bound them together by the fence. Grandma Clara, perched on a stool nearby, sipped coffee from a chipped mug, her stern expression softened by the sight of her granddaughter's courage. The clinic door swung open, and Lily's mum, Sarah, burst in, her nurse's scrubs wrinkled from the drive from Willow Creek. Her face was a mix of worry and relief as she rushed to Lily, pulling her into a tight hug. "Oh, Lily, thank goodness you're okay," she said, her voice muffled against her daughter's hair. "Grandma called me in a panic. Running off in a storm, you had us so scared." "I'm sorry, Mom," Lily mumbled, her face pressed against her mom's shoulder. "But Daisy needed me. I couldn't leave her." Sarah pulled back, studying Lily's face, then glanced at Daisy and the puppies. Her expression shifted to one of pride, though worry lingered in her eyes. "Dr. Ellis told me what you did," she said, her voice softening. "You were incredibly brave, sweetheart, but so reckless. We need to talk about listening to Grandma and staying safe." Lily nodded, her heart sinking slightly at the thought of consequences, but Dr. Ellis interjected. "She's a hero, Sarah. Without her, Daisy and these puppies wouldn't have made it. She kept her head in a crisis. Reminds me of a certain nurse I know." He winked, and Sarah's lips twitched into a reluctant smile. The next few days brought a whirlwind of attention. Word of Lily's rescue spread through Willow Creek, fueled by a front-page story in the local newspaper, 8-year-old saves stolen therapy dog in storm. The article featured a photo of Lily kneeling beside Daisy, the puppies tucked against their mother, and quoted Dr. Ellis praising Lily's courage. Neighbors stopped by the farmhouse with homemade pies and kind words, and Lily's classmates sent notes calling her a dog hero, though the attention made her squirm with shy embarrassment. The story caught the eye of the community, sparking a groundswell of support for Dr. Ellis's therapy dog program. A local business owner offered to host a fundraiser at the town hall, with Daisy and her puppies as the guests of honor, to raise money for training more therapy dogs. Dr. Ellis invited Lily to speak at the event, suggesting her story could inspire others to support the cause. At first, Lily hesitated, her stomach fluttering at the thought of facing a crowd, but the idea of helping dogs like Daisy gave her courage. The night of the fundraiser, the town hall was packed, its wooden rafters strung with fairy lights and tables laden with donated baked goods. Lily stood at a podium adjusted to her height, her hands gripping a note card she'd written with her mom's help. Daisy lay nearby in a plush dog bed, her puppies, now named Sunny, Clover, Breeze, and Hope curled against her, drawing coos from the audience. Lily's knees trembled, but she took a deep breath, her eyes finding her mum and Grandma Clara in the front row, their smiles steadying her. "I wasn't trying to be brave," Lily began, her voice small but clear, carrying over the hushed crowd. "I just heard Daisy crying, and I knew she needed a friend. She was scared and hurt, but she trusted me, and that made me want to help her no matter what." She glanced at Daisy, who looked back with calm, knowing eyes. "Daisy's special. She helps people feel better, and her puppies might do that too someday. I learned that being brave isn't about not being afraid. It's about keeping your promise, even when it's hard." The room erupted in applause, and Lily's cheeks burned as she stepped back, slipping her hand into her mom's. Dr. Ellis took the podium, announcing that the fundraiser had raised enough to train 3 new therapy dogs, thanks to Lily's story. The crowd cheered, and Lily felt a warmth spread through her, a sense that her small act had rippled outward, touching lives she'd never even met. Back at the clinic the next day, Lily sat with Daisy, watching the puppies wiggle and squeak. She'd changed, she realized, not just because of the newspaper or the fundraiser, but because of what Daisy had taught her. Courage wasn't just for storybook heroes, it was in her, waiting to be found. And as she stroked Daisy's fur, she wondered about the puppies' futures, especially little Hope, the smallest, who seemed to follow her every move with curious eyes. 6 months had passed since the stormy night when Lily found Daisy tangled in the barbed wire fence, and autumn had painted Willow Creek in vibrant hues of gold, crimson, and amber. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves, as Lily hopped out of her mom's car in front of Dr. Ellis's clinic. Her sneakers crunched on the gravel path, and her hazel eyes sparkled with anticipation. Weekly visits to see Daisy and her puppies had become the highlight of her life, a ritual that anchored her to the miracle of that rainy night. Today, though, felt different, special, like the start of something new. "Do you think Hope's grown since last week?" Lily asked, barely waiting for her mom, Sarah, to turn off the engine. Her chestnut curls bounced as she clutched a small bag of dog treats she'd bought with her allowance, her excitement palpable. Sarah laughed, grabbing her purse from the passenger seat. "Puppies grow fast, sweetheart, but I doubt she's doubled in size in 7 days." Her voice was warm, tinged with pride, as she watched her daughter race toward the clinic door, a far cry from the shy girl who'd once hesitated to speak. Up the door swung open before Lily could knock, and Dr. Ellis greeted her with a broad smile. "Right on time, as always," he said, stepping aside. A blur of golden fur shot past his legs, a small but sturdy puppy barreling toward Lily with unbridled joy. Hope, the runt of Daisy's litter, yipped excitedly, her tail a wagging blur as she jumped up, nearly knocking Lily over. "Hope!" Lily giggled, dropping to her knees to hug the puppy, who showered her face with enthusiastic licks. "I missed you too." At 6 months, Hope was no longer tiny, her fluffy coat showing the classic Labrador shine, though she remained smaller than her siblings. Her playful energy, deemed too exuberant for therapy work, had cemented her as Lily's favorite, and, Dr. Ellis had hinted, possibly something more. "She's been watching the window all morning," Dr. Ellis said as Sarah joined them. "I swear she knows your car by sound now." He led them inside, where Daisy lounged on a dog bed near a sunlit window, her scars from the barbed wire hidden beneath her glossy fur. She raised her head at Lily's arrival, her tail thumping in welcome, her eyes carrying that same trusting warmth that had first captured Lily's heart. "Hi, Daisy," Lily said, crossing to scratch behind the Labrador's ears. "You're looking so strong today." Daisy leaned into her touch, a soft sigh escaping her, as if acknowledging their shared journey. The bond between them had deepened over the months, a silent understanding forged in the storm. Sarah pulled a folded newspaper from her bag, handing it to Dr. Ellis. "The follow-up article came out today," she said. "They did a beautiful job." The front page featured a photo of Daisy's 3 therapy-bound puppies, Sunny, Clover, and Breeze, in their training vests, alongside a smaller picture of Lily and Hope. The headline read, "Storm-rescued puppies begin therapy training. Thanks to young hero." Dr. Ellis scanned the article, his face lighting up. Perfect timing for the program's expansion. Sunny and Clover are excelling in their training, and Breeze already calmed a patient during a panic attack last week. They're going to change lives just like their mom. He looked at Lily, his voice warm. None of this would have happened without you. Lily blushed, focusing on Hope, who was now chewing playfully on her shoelace. The fundraiser had been a turning point, not just for the therapy dog program, but for Lily herself. The community's support had funded 5 new dogs, and the publicity had led to the arrest of the thieves who'd stolen Daisy, breaking up a local pet theft ring. Lily's story had inspired donations, volunteer sign-ups, and even a partnership with a nursing home for therapy visits. But for Lily, the real reward was here in the clinic, with Daisy and Hope. Dr. Ellis cleared his throat, a knowing look in his eyes. Lily, there's something we've been discussing with your mom. He glanced at Sarah, who nodded, a smile tugging at her lips. Hope's not cut out for therapy work. She's too playful, too attached to you. She needs a home where she'll be loved and understood. We think you're the perfect person for that. Lily's eyes widened, her breath catching. You mean Hope can be mine for real? She looked from Dr. Ellis to her mom, her heart pounding with hope. Sarah knelt beside her, her expression soft but serious. For real, sweetheart. Dad and I talked it over. You've shown so much responsibility these past months, helping at the clinic, saving for her supplies, even reading those dog care books I gave you. Hope's yours after her final checkup next week. Lily threw her arms around her mom, then Hope, who yipped and wriggled in delight. Thank you, she squealed, tears of joy pricking her eyes. Did you hear that, Hope? You're coming home with me. The puppy tilted her head as if understanding, and licked Lily's cheek, sealing their bond. There are rules, Sarah added, her tone firm but warm. You'll be responsible for her feeding, walking, and training. She'll need obedience. Classes, and you'll help with vet visits. Can you handle that? I promise, Lily said solemnly, her hand resting on Hope's back. I'll take care of her forever. She looked at Daisy, a lump forming in her throat. And I'll visit you all the time, Daisy. You're family now. Dr. Ellis chuckled. I don't doubt it, Lily. You've got a gift with dogs. A heart like yours is rare. He gestured to the puppy's bed, where Sunny, Clover, and Breeze were napping. These 3 will help people just like Daisy. And Hope? She'll be your partner in crime. As Lily played with Hope, rolling a toy ball across the floor, she felt a profound sense of completion. That stormy night had changed her, teaching her about courage, promises, and the power of a single act of kindness. She'd faced her fears, defied the odds, and brought Daisy home, not just to Dr. Ellis, but to a future where her puppies would spread comfort and joy. Hope, now hers, was a living reminder of that night, a piece of the miracle she'd carry forever. Outside, the autumn sun dipped low, casting a golden glow over the clinic. Lily sat beside Daisy. Hope curled in her lap and whispered, We did it, Daisy. We saved each other. Daisy's tail thumped, her eyes warm with understanding, and in that quiet moment Lily knew some bonds were unbreakable, forged in storms and sealed with love.